India stands amidst the global swirling tensions as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets the Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow, reaffirming strategic ties ahead of Putin's December summit with Modi. News emerges of an imminent US-India trade first package. This delicate balancing act deepening economic bonds with Washington while maintaining vital defense and energy links with Moscow raises urgent questions. Can New Delhi truly walk both paths? With Russia skipping Ukraine talks in Turkey and the world's watching, India's non-aligned stances being tested like never before. Is this diplomacy or divergence? I'm Henny Saif. Let's go in depth. The Telegraph Online has reported that the Moscow meeting between Jaishankar and Lavrov underscored the strategic depth of India-Russia ties, affirming their role as a global stabilizing factor. This high-level dialogue serves as the critical prelude to President Putin's vital December summit in New Delhi, signaling unwavering strategic trust. Discussions navigated complex global crises, including Ukraine and the Middle East, while a key focus remained on economic sovereignty. Both nations are actively establishing new independent trade mechanisms to neutralize the impact of illegitimate Western sanctions pressure. Furthermore, the emphasis on developing the INSTC and Northern Sea route reveals a firm commitment to strengthening non-Western connectivity. This joint geopolitical and economic strategy firmly positions Moscow and New Delhi as leading voices for a multipolar world order. According to the Financial Times, New Delhi is actively defying pressure from the US, which threatens severe sanctions and 500% tariffs on Russian oil buyers. India, now the second largest buyer after China, has aggressively increased crude purchases, confirming that energy security is a national priority over Western dictates. To mitigate political fallout, India made a costly, economically questionable purchase of US gas, aimed solely at giving Washington a diplomatic win. This strategic duality signals that New Delhi recognizes the need for political cushioning amidst global instability. Recognizing a volatile new normal in world trade, India's government is injecting substantial credit and implementing long-term schemes to fortify its export sector. This move reflects a proactive strategy for economic self-reliance against global instability. In a world of ultimatums, India is writing its own rules, steady, smart, and standing firm. Amid Putin's imminent Delhi summit, Jaishankar's Moscow mission unfolds as India seals its first US LPG deal, testing whether New Delhi can anchor itself in both Washington's trade orbit and Moscow's strategic embrace without surrendering its non-aligned legacy.
Amid a world fracturing into blocks, India is walking a high wire, balancing between Moscow and Washington like never before. Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar arrived in Moscow yesterday for crucial talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Just as Washington announces India is close to the finish line on a landmark trade deal, but timing speaks louder than words. While they discuss SCO, BRICS, and Putin's upcoming December summit in New Delhi, behind closed doors lies a deeper calculus. Can India deepen ties with the US without alienating its older strategic partner? The American lure is economic. A first tranche of the trade deal could lift punitive tariffs, boost agri-exports, and seal India's first ever LPG purchase from the United States, a symbolic shift under Trump-era pressure. But energy binds India to Russia. Despite Western sanctions, India has become the top buyer of discounted Russian oil, a lifeline for Moscow, a bargain for New Delhi. This delicate dance fuels both economies and questions about alignment. India is not choosing, it is maneuvering. From defense pacts with Russia to Indo-Pacific security with the Quad, India leverages multipolarity not as a contradiction but as strategy, enhancing influence while preserving autonomy. In a world demanding side, India's greatest power may be its refusal to pick one. This is not realignment, this is realpolitik at its finest.
And to get deeper into the story, we're joined from Beijing by Mr. Melik Ayub Sambal, the geopolitical analyst and current affairs commentator and broadcaster, and from Moscow by Mr. Sergei Markov, the former advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Gentlemen, welcome to In Depth. Mr. Sambal, is India being forced to choose between Washington and Moscow, or can it maintain its strategic autonomy indefinitely?
Thank you very much for having me in this interesting discussion. So I think that it is the time and it is the changing priorities of the Moscow and Washington, in which India has been revolving around, and I think that India has been the mean that the
We seem to be having some connectivity issues with Mr. Sambal. We're going to try and work it out. But Mr. Markov, Lavrov's recent talks with Jaishankar focus on preparing for the annual summit in December. How does Moscow interpret the simultaneous progress of the US-India trade talks? And does Russia perceive this as a strategic pivot or a challenge to the bilateral relationship?
Russia see this improving of India-Russia relationship and India-US relationship as a normal thing. As we understand, President of the United States, Donald Trump, made some political mistake when he started to threaten to India. And as a result, the reaction from government of India and from Prime Minister of India was very negative, and Prime Minister Modi told directly that this pressure from United States absolutely not acceptable for India. And now Donald Trump understood his mistake, and he now moved from demands from India to diminished buying of oil from Russia, to the asking them to do this. This is more polite and more respectable policy of United States, automatically led to the improving of US-India relationship. It's normal. But same time, this crisis in relation between India and United States show to Indian government and to Indian society that India cannot strongly rely on the constant, polite and respectable attitude from United States of America. That's why India understands more that India needs in such situation to have for sure good relations with other countries, and Russia are one of the main among them. So it's a normal situation, and the situation result of such crisis in India-US relationship, which now more or less changed by Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Sumbal, we are back with you over the phone. Can New Delhi benefit economically from both Washington and Moscow without paying a political price?
I don't think so that New Delhi has in a position right now, because you see that the United States has been pushing India continuously. If we see that Donald Trump, that policy towards India is very harsh. He's pushing India at one side to buy the agricultural products. On the other hand, there are going to be some sort of the very new sanctions that yesterday Donald Trump announced that the United States will put sanctions on those countries who have been trading oil from Russia. So I think that Russia, especially for India, it's a quite difficult time now to balance and benefits while keeping their ties with Moscow and Washington stable.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Markov, India understands that it needs to make deals with both countries, but is Moscow concerned, even if not now, maybe on the long term, on the long run, would Moscow be concerned rather that India's rush towards a US trade deal could weaken their strategic trust?
Of course, there are some concern, but about something Russia sure. Russia sure that India will be independent country. Russia sure that India will not follow demands and orders from Washington or from London, from Brussels, and so on. And Russia sure that India very profitable because of the trade with Russia, first of all by Russian oil, but also by Russian weaponry, and also by opening Russian economy for the goods from India. So Russia sure that this will be decision of India to continue relationship with Russia, including oil trade relationship. Mm-hmm. This is for sure, but some concern connected that India, by big geopolitical geography, appeared to be in the competition with China, and because United States are also a big competitor, global competitor to China, India and the United States has a kind of objective reasons for the more cooperation and more political dialogue. This can create problem for Russia because, as you may know, United States one of the mostly big aggressor against Russia, and so this is concern, and also another issue about the characters of trade. Now Russia has problems with rupee, with Indian money, because according to the India law, Russian commercial firms should buy, cannot just take this money from India. They should buy something in India. There are not so many which India can buy. And now tremendous money, almost 100 billions of dollars, generally of Russian money, stay in rupee on the India territory. And such negotiation continue already a few times. Now it looks like that they try to find some solution, but according to information from Russian media, the general solution didn't found yet. This should be resolved. It's one of the concerns.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Sumbal, a lot of political observers and commentators are reportedly saying that India is using its relationship with Russia as a diplomatic lever. Now, in what specific areas had this lever been most effective, particularly amidst the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war and Western pressure?
Yes, I think that is a very important thing, and I think that if you might heard about this recently, the United States also pushed India. The U.S. Defense Secretary has made some statements that India is going to have a very strong defense cooperation with the United States. So Simultaneously, we see that India have a very strong defense and strategic cooperation with Russia. We saw the Russian oil. Russian oil is one of that commodity in which I think that India has benefited a lot, and not only benefited, but I think that the Russian oil has been gone through Europe and to the United States, through Indians' hands. So, in terms of making the relation between the Russia, because you know that Russia, China, and India are part of the global South, and there is a very strong demand and the desire around the world that the global South is rising. So India has a lot of potential to come and to have cooperation in this bloc, and simultaneous to balance this relation with United States.
Mr. Markov, how does Russia view India's dual role, buying its oil yet aligning with Western-led economic pacts?
You know, from our point of view, India, superpower, great power of the future. It's now already a very, very big and influential power with very quickly growing economy. But in the future, the role of India will be bigger than now. And it's first. It's for Russia, it's clear. And if we see that more relation between India and Western countries, it's also quite reasonable, because we see now big competition between China and United States of America, and India, who are also competing with China in Asian Pacific region, on the practical level has to cooperate more with United States. As to Europe, it's a little bit another issue. Europe is a huge market, and every rising economy, developing economy such as India, very interesting to have access to the European market. Another important issue that European economies, they quite advanced in high tech sectors of economy, and India is another rising economy. Very much interesting to buy and to have cooperation with European economies for taking high tech technologies. So it's normal. Same time, we are sure that India very much remembers that in the difficult period of India after taking independence, it's exactly was Russia, Soviet Russia, who helped mostly India to start as an independent country. That's why we are sure that India will cooperate more with Europe and United States, but will never pay to the United States and Europe by worsening of its relations with Russia.
Mr. Sombal, apart from the oil trade, now, can India maintain defense cooperation with Russia amid the growing US pressure and Quad commitments?
Indeed, I think that there is a strong potential, and I think that the things will heading toward that, because United States is going to push more India, not only on the defense side, but they have a lot of that the chess cards that the United States and Donald Trump would likely to play. A very important chess card that I would like to point out is toward the Gautam Adani. He is one of the largest businessmen who comes under the radar of the U.S. investigations about the Adani trade with Iran, and I think that is one of the major concerns for the Modi government, that they would have to put his consideration. So I think that United States will continuously push India to stay away from the defense ties from Russia, but it comes all towards the Modi government, that how he will play, because India already faced a major setback recently with Pakistan. We saw, because Donald Trump is continuously mentioning sometimes 6 planes, 7 planes, and 8 planes. So these are actually diplomatic rhetoric that the Donald Trump is continuously playing and pushing India, that India should stay away from such kind of the defense pacts from Russia. So how India will play, I think time will tell. But I think that for Modi, I think the margin
to play between Moscow and Washington is quite less now, and there is a very, very less margin now in terms of the diplomacy. Even the U.S. Foreign Minister has been trying and playing between both sides, but I think that the tough time is ahead for India.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Markov, how does Moscow assess India's role in BRICS and the SCO amid rising US-India closeness?
There are a few characteristics. First of all, BRICS have been founded by three countries, Russia, China, and India from the beginning. And so India, one of the founders of BRICS. Also, BRICS is not so much an organization, but more some kind of club of the countries which help to each other for the preserving their sovereignty. But who is the main threat to the sovereignty to any countries? Is Western imperialist powers, such as United States, Britain, France, and now European Union. That's why BRICS has to cooperate with each other by helping each other to have more strong position in the face of the pressure of Western imperialist countries. Mm-hmm. So it means that it's normal some kind of competition and some kind of cooperation. If we look at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it's another issue. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it was not a little bit under Western club, but it's more a real organization which has another goal, security in Eurasia. And it has been created, Shanghai Cooperation Organization has been created by Russia and China for the helping to the Central Asia countries to preserve their stability in the face of the Islamic State, Daesh from Afghanistan, and Taliban, and so on. And they solve this problem. And now, then, in other countries, who is also interesting about taking part in this functioning as preserving collective security of the Euro-Asian continent, they're interesting to take part on in this. So it's a different organization, and that's why it's a different role. Partly a little bit competition as between two close superpowers, neighboring superpowers as China and India, and partly cooperation about common interests. And Russia also play a role of moderator between China and India if competition between them becoming a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Sambal, given the potential US tariff rollback is tied to oil, is New Delhi effectively conceding a measure of energy sovereignty for short-term trade stabilization?
Of course, if the India the tariff policy and the tariff negotiation with the United States will not come on that level, where I think that and it would be not, because the demands from the United States are very high. Mean that those demands of the United States is, as I mentioned before, that one of the Donald Trump major demand is actually that India should buy the United States agricultural products. But I think that that will be not possible for Modi government, because we remember that last time when there was some agricultural market reforms was made by the Modi government, and we saw the historic protests throughout in the Punjab, and there was hundreds and thousands of the farmers who have moved toward New Delhi and protested against this combined stock market of the agriculture that he want to introduce. So I think that the self-reliance for India on the energy is one of the aspects that which New Delhi could think about this. But the population and the consumption challenge for India is also very high. So India to become the self-sufficient and to be energy independency, I think that would be the goal that will take a long time for the New Delhi to achieve, and it would not be that would come in, especially in the near few years. So I think that that could be a desire from the India, but I think that it could not be as practical and pragmatic in terms of the the ground realities and the available resources that India has.
Mhm. Well, Mr. Markov, can India truly remain non-aligned when superpowers demand loyalty, or is it just a matter of time?
I think such a non-aligned movement now change in itself, because it was clear understanding what means to be not aligned country in the past. It means not to take part in American bloc, not to take part in Soviet bloc. But now this is this big geopolitical competition between American peace and Soviet peace already. American world and Soviet world already disappear. Now we can see a lot of rising new big countries. China is clear, and India itself now much more influential than before. And this conflict between Russia and the West about Ukraine, it's already not so much strategic conflict. It's more, I think, stupidity of Western leaders and political mistake of Western leaders. And it's my personal opinion, but nevertheless, we don't have such a big strategic two-polar world, Western polar and Russian polar. And as a result, India appeared to be a new center. Now, by the way, we're moving from the description multipolar world to the more, I think, reasonable multi-center world. And India will be for sure one of the center. Either India will be a strong ally of Western countries? No, because India will be independent. Either India will be strong ally of Russia? No, because India will be independent. But either we can say that India absolutely not a allied country. No, also because India is the center of the new world itself.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Sambal, one final question now. When Western sanctions directly are trading and challenging the India-Russia trade, what concrete mechanisms will the December summit indicate or work to deploy to secure a bypass of these challenges and tensions?
After the Bihar election, I think that the BJP that is already in the coalition government with some political parties from Bihar, and I think that the chief ministership of the Bihar, that is maybe you know, that is the recent election, and the chief ministership has been given to Bihar. So I think that under the new sanctions and under the restraint and strained relations with the United States, I think that for Modi, he has to mean that bargain and negotiate between the United States and also because I think that if the Washington will pressing more India, and especially the BJP government, who is also, because you know that the BJP and the Congress are quite head to head, and I think that the Beijing will the BJP is into the bargain position with the United States, and I think that the Modi will have to be a balanced and I think a very compromising stance towards United States on the relation towards Russia or any other demands that the Washington will raise.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Malik Ayub Sambal, the geopolitical analyst, current affairs commentator and broadcaster, thank you very much for joining us. And Mr. Sergei Markov, the former advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin, always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you both for your special insights. Now, in a fractured world demanding choices, India charts its own course, defiant, deliberate, and determined to shape a multipolar future on its own terms. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. I'm Henny Seif. Thank you for joining us.